So we've been seeing a lot about this lately, and we've even gotten some material from y'all about it. And it seems like everyone's talking about employee advocacy.
Yeah, it's everywhere right now.
It is. It's like the hot new thing. And from what I understand, I mean, basically it's about getting your colleagues,
Right.
to share the company's content.
It,
Like it's like a
it's like they're almost like an extension of your marketing team
yeah, yeah.
without being on the marketing team.
Yeah. So there's sort of like well,
Amplifying your content strategy
yeah,
with
exactly.
their own networks and connections.
Yeah, and it seems like you're really interested in getting like the full
Oh.
picture of employee advocacy.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much out there.
Yeah,
It's like, how do you even begin to understand it?
exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
what is it really? How does
Yeah.
it actually benefit a company?
Right.
And, what are those practical steps to actually
Yeah.
get a program going?
Right. And then, on top of that, like once you get it going, how do you even know if it's working?
Right. What are those key metrics?
Yeah, exactly.
The KPIs.
And then just like the tips and tricks for success.
Exactly.
So I think what we want to do with this deep dive is to sort of like go through all that material that you sent
Okay.
and kind of pull out
Yeah.
the really important stuff, the good stuff.
Yeah, the nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So let's start with like the basics. What is employee advocacy? Like what is it at its core?
Well, at its most basic level, I mean, it's really about your employees sharing the content that your company creates.
Oh,
It's that simple.
okay.
But it's simple but powerful
Right.
because, I mean, think about it. Your employees, they already have their own networks.
Mm.
They have connections.
Yeah.
And people are more likely to trust a recommendation or information if it's coming from someone they know.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Sure.
It's like if you're seeing it from a colleague or a friend
Yeah.
or even like an acquaintance,
Mhm.
you're more likely to think, oh, this is actually something worth checking out.
Yeah, it feels more authentic than just seeing like a brand's,
Exactly.
post on their feed.
It's not coming from some faceless corporation.
Right, exactly, exactly. So we're talking about content. What kind of content are we talking about here? Like what
Right.
kind of content strategy does employee advocacy support?
Well, the material here highlights a few key areas.
Okay.
One is thought leadership.
Okay.
Your employees can help establish your company as an expert in the field
Right.
by sharing insights and knowledge,
Yeah, so it's not just like
That thing.
product updates or anything like that.
not just Cushing products. No.
Right. Okay, so thought leadership. What else?
Brand building.
Okay.
It can help improve brand awareness and perception.
Hmm.
And then there's indirect sales. By sharing positive experiences and recommendations.
Okay.
It can actually influence purchasing decisions.
That makes sense.
And then, of course, there's recruitment marketing,
Oh, yeah.
showcasing your company culture and attracting potential new hires.
Yeah, especially now when it's so hard
It's
to
exactly.
find good people.
Yeah, it can be a big differentiator.
Yeah. So where is this content being shared? Like what are the actual
Right.
channels?
Well, there are several channels mentioned here.
Okay.
Obviously, your company website,
Okay.
any external media publications that you might be involved with.
Uh-huh.
But social media is key here.
Okay.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the big ones.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Exactly. But it's important not to overlook what they call dark social.
Dark social.
Yeah, things like WhatsApp,
Oh, okay.
those private messaging apps.
So that's like stuff that doesn't get picked up.
Exactly. It's not publicly visible,
Right. Okay.
but it's still happening, and it
Uh-huh.
can be very influential.
So why bother? Like what are the benefits of employee advocacy for the company?
Well, the benefits are pretty compelling. I mean, the material here says you could see up to 8 times more reach
Wow.
for your content.
That's huge.
It is. And lead conversion rates can be 7 times higher.
Wow.
Not only are more people seeing your content, but they're actually more likely to convert.
So it's not just about vanity metrics. It's actually
Yeah.
leading to something.
It's driving results.
Yeah. Okay, what else?
Well, you can also save money,
Okay, I like it.
up to 20% on recruitment costs,
Wow.
and overall savings on marketing expenses.
So it's good for the bottom line.
Absolutely.
So it sounds great, but is this like something that any company can just jump into and,
Right.
and expect these results?
That's a good question. The material does suggest that it's most beneficial for certain types of companies.
Okay.
Companies with more than 10 employees.
Okay.
Companies that regularly publish news and blog content
Yeah.
on their website.
Yeah.
Businesses that are already using online channels to generate leads.
Uh-huh.
those who are engaged in content marketing,
Yeah.
and companies that are frequently hiring.
So basically companies that are already
Right.
active online
Yeah.
and have content to share.
Yeah, it's about amplifying what you're already doing.
Got it. Okay, so what about the employees? Like, why should they care about this? What are the benefits for them?
Well, it's not just about the company, right?
Right?
There are significant benefits for employees who participate in these programs.
Okay.
86% of participants report a positive impact on their career.
Oh, wow.
That's huge.
Yeah.
They become more visible in their industry.
Okay.
They make new connections. They're seen as thought leaders.
So they're kind of building their own.
Exactly. They're building their own personal brand.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. What else?
Well, for salespeople, it can actually lead to increased sales.
Okay.
They report being 4 times more successful.
Wow. Okay. That's
It's a big deal.
that's a big deal. Yeah. And then just like more broadly, they just get more engagement on their content.
Exactly. People are more interested in what they have to say.
Yeah.
It's a win-win, really.
Yeah. So, but I imagine it's not always easy to get management on board.
Oh, for sure. That can be a challenge.
Because, management, they like their numbers. They like to see things,
Right.
immediately.
They want results and they want them fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you convince them?
Well, the material actually addresses this specifically.
Okay.
It says that often management is focused on short-term results.
Uh-huh.
They're not as familiar with these pull strategies
Right.
as opposed to the traditional push marketing.
Right.
And they might have difficulty measuring the conversion from these efforts.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not as direct.
Exactly. It's more about building relationships and trust.
Right. Right. So how do you overcome that? How do you get them to buy in?
Well, there are a few strategies mentioned. One is what they call reverse engineering.
Okay.
Basically, you show them the results you're already getting
Oh, okay.
from your existing content efforts.
Okay.
Even if you haven't been formally tracking it as employee advocacy,
Right.
highlight those LinkedIn posts that led to sales inquiries.
So show them that it's already happening.
Exactly. Plant those seeds.
Okay, I like that. What else?
Well, you can also use what they call competitor user cases.
Okay.
Find examples of companies in your industry or similar industries
Right.
that have implemented successful employee advocacy programs
Okay.
and highlight their results.
So show them what the competition is doing.
Exactly. A little bit of FOMO never hurts.
Right, right. Okay, what else?
You need to set clear KPIs,
Okay.
key performance indicators
Right.
that are aligned with your business objectives.
Right.
So if you need a certain number of leads to achieve a sales target, you can work backward to see how employee advocacy can contribute to driving traffic to your website
Okay.
to generate those leads.
Got it. So tie it to the bottom line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't forget, conversion doesn't always have to be a hard sale.
Right.
It can be things like increased engagement,
Oh, okay.
improved brand
Yeah.
preference,
Oh, right.
things like that.
So those softer metrics.
That's-
Exactly. Okay. What if they're still hesitant to invest a lot of resources up front?
Well, in that case, start with a pilot program.
Okay.
Keep it small.
Right.
Minimize the investment.
Okay.
Gather some proof of concept. Learn what works.
Yeah.
The recommendation is to run it for at least 6 months
Okay.
and choose your participants wisely.
Okay.
Start with your social gurus.
So like the people who are already kind of
Exactly.
active on social.
The ones who are already doing it anyway.
Right, right. Okay, that makes sense. Any other tips for getting that management buy-in?
Yeah, definitely involve any enthusiastic members of the management team, especially those who are active on social media.
Okay.
They can be your internal champions.
Right, they can lead by example.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then it's important to regularly report and discuss the results.
Absolutely. Don't just show them a dashboard.
Right.
Talk about what those numbers mean.
Right.
Celebrate the successes. Highlight the contributions of your employees.
So make it real, make it human.
Exactly. Make it tangible.
Yeah, okay, I like that. So let's say you've got the green light, you've got management on board. How do you actually start a program?
Well, the material emphasizes 2 key things.
Okay.
Content and motivation.
Okay.
You need great content
Right.
and you need motivated employees.
Right, because without the employees, it's just content sitting there.
It's going nowhere.
Right, right. So how do you do it? What are the steps?
Well, first, you need to empower your employees.
Okay.
Help them optimize their social media profiles.
Okay.
Make sure they feel comfortable sharing company content.
Well-
Provide them with the tools and resources they need.
Okay.
Make it easy and enjoyable for them.
So make them feel like they're a part of something.
Exactly. Make them feel valued.
Yeah, okay. What else?
Be accessible.
Okay.
Be there to answer their questions.
Right.
Be open to their suggestions.
Yeah, because they're the ones on the front lines.
Exactly. They know their networks best.
Right, right. Okay, what about the content itself?
Customize it.
Oh.
Different roles and networks will have different content needs.
Right.
Think about your internal target groups.
Okay.
You might have thought leaders, commercial networkers, service experts.
Right.
Each group will have different interests and preferences.
So tailor the content to them.
Exactly.
Okay. What about launching the program? Like, how do you actually get it off the ground?
Start sharing,
Okay.
but don't wait for perfection.
Right.
Launch a pilot program
Okay.
with a small group of early adopters,
Okay.
at least 5 people
Okay.
from different departments.
Yep.
Or maybe even start with a leading department like marketing or communications.
Right, right.
Have a kickoff meeting. Explain the best practices.
Okay.
How to use the tools, what kind of content to share.
Right, get them excited about it.
Exactly.
Okay, and then make sure you have content ready to go.
Absolutely.
Right from the start.
Don't make them wait.
Yeah.
Have things scheduled
Okay.
so they can hit the ground running.
Okay, so give them some easy wins right away.
Exactly.
Okay. What about keeping them engaged over time?
Share results.
Okay.
Show them the impact they're having.
Right.
Highlight the successes. Celebrate the wins.
Okay.
Use dashboards to track the numbers.
Okay.
Show them how many shares they're getting, how much
Yeah.
engagement they're generating.
Okay. What happens after the pilot?
Roll it out.
Okay.
Expand the program.
Right.
Share the goals and the success stories.
Right.
Get more people involved.
Okay. And then just keep measuring, analyzing, and improving, right?
Absolutely. Never stop learning and optimizing.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned KPIs earlier. What are some of the most important ones to track?
The material highlights 4 key KPIs:
Okay.
backlinks, social shares, unique visitors, and average visit duration.
Okay, let's break those down.
Okay.
So backlinks, those are links from other websites
That's
to
it.
your content.
Right.
Okay, and that helps with SEO.
It does. It improves your search engine ranking.
Okay, what about social shares?
Social shares, that's just how many times your content is shared on social media.
Okay, so that's a measure of reach.
Exactly.
Okay, what about unique visitors?
Unique visitors, that's how many people are coming to your website.
Okay, and you can track that in Google Analytics?
You can. It's a standard metric.
Okay, and then average visit duration.
Yeah, that's how long people are staying on your website once they get there.
Okay, so that's a measure of engagement.
Exactly. Are they actually reading your content?
Right, right. So we've got reach, we've got engagement, we've got SEO. What else?
Well, there are some additional tips for success mentioned in the material.
Okay, let's hear them.
Personalized messages.
Okay.
Encourage your employees to add their own personal touch
Right.
to the content they're sharing.
Okay.
It feels more authentic, and it actually increases engagement by 64%.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It is, so don't underestimate the power of personalization.
Okay, what about timing?
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
You need to post when your target audience is online.
Right.
There are general best times for different platforms,
Okay.
but it's important to test and see what works best for you.
Okay.
And don't forget about scheduling tools.
Right, set it and forget it.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
Reminder emails.
Okay.
Keep employee advocacy top of mind
Right.
by sending regular reminders.
Okay.
Highlight the content that's available to share
Right.
and make it easy for them to do so.
Okay, so keep it front and center.
Exactly.
What about tailoring content? We talked about that earlier. Any more tips on that?
Yeah, so you want to motivate with tailored content.
Okay.
Remember that different roles and networks have different preferences,
Right.
but you can go even deeper.
Okay.
Ask your colleagues what they like to share,
Okay.
what they avoid sharing.
Right.
Create groups based on shared interests and expertise,
Okay.
and write in a tailored style.
So really get to know your audience.
Exactly. The more tailored the content, the more successful your program will be.
Okay, I like it. You also mentioned some case studies. Where can people find those?
Yeah, there are several case studies mentioned,
Okay.
including examples from Rabobank, Delta Lloyd, Aegon, Monumentum, Zilveren Cruise, and Gemeente Utrecht.
So lots of different examples to learn from.
Exactly. It's always good to see what others are doing.
Okay, great. And finally, there was this platform mentioned.
Right.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so there are platforms out there
Okay.
that can help you manage your employee advocacy program.
Okay.
They provide tools and resources to make it easier, and they can help you track your results.
So if you're serious about employee advocacy, it might be worth checking out one of those platforms.
It could be, yeah.
Okay, great. So to wrap things up, what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think the key takeaway is that employee advocacy can be a really powerful tool for increasing reach,
Right.
generating leads,
Yeah.
improving recruitment, and boosting your overall marketing efforts.
Right.
But it needs to be done strategically.
Okay.
You need to have management buy-in.
Yeah.
You need to have engaged employees.
Right.
And you need to create valuable content.
So it's not just a set it and forget it kind of thing.
No, it takes effort,
Right.
but the results can be well worth it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully after this deep dive, our listeners have a much clearer understanding of what employee advocacy is and how they can actually implement it in their own organizations.
Hopefully they're feeling inspired.
Yeah, exactly. And not overwhelmed by all the information.
Right, exactly.
So here's a final thought for you all to consider. Given how important authentic connection is these days, how might empowering your colleagues to share their expertise change how your industry sees your organization?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's something to think about.
It is. It's about building trust and credibility.
Exactly. Well, thanks for diving deep with us,
My pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
See you later.